Hi, welcome back. This will be chapter 23 of ShutterBug by Iriley. This is for the Podfic's baton. If you have not figured that out by now, you are 23 chapters deep. How have you not figured it out by now? Walking into the now familiar office, Peter sees a fuming Lex Luthor sitting behind his desk, hands clenched on top. Good morning, Mr. Luthor. The man scowls at Peter's upbeat tone. Parker. Peter grins a bit as he sits in the chair across from the man. His lawyer sits next to him as Lex's lawyer sits across from her.
Just to set everything on the table, your client is asking to be reimbursed for the, as he put it, traumatic confrontation while present for a photo shoot.
The man says, Lex sending a glare at Peter as his lawyer speaks. That's correct. Peter's lawyer, Sam, says as Peter nods.
And what is this confrontation you are referring to? Through my research, I haven't found anything that would suggest any kind of transgression.
Lex's lawyer, Steve, says with a practiced confidence, the confidence of a man who has done this many times before. Lex sends a small smirk at Peter from behind his folded hands. Peter matches it. Sam nods along as she opens her laptop, turning it so the screen shows the two people of the tape. Said tape is the footage Peter had obtained while in his cell. Steve doesn't speak, but Lex looks about ready to blow a blood vessel. As you can see, my client was held captive in a room as Mr. Luthor tried to persuade him to join him. When he was met with a response he didn't like, he taunted my client with the fact he couldn't be rescued. Steve pushes his glasses up on his nose, short black hair falling into his face.
I see, and what is Mr. Parker asking of my client?
Lex gives a look to Steve, but the man shakes his head. In return for not bringing this matter to the police, my client is requesting that Mr. Luthor either complies with the verbal agreement that he made while my client discussed an escape attempt. Sam gets interrupted by Lex at that.
What verbal agreement?
The one in which you offer up your company should my client escape himself. She brushes a strand of blonde hair from her face as she speaks. Lex moves to say more, but is stopped by Steve.
Is this the only request, or shall we move on to negotiations?
Lex looks furious, but Sam speaks before he can. My client is well aware of how much work has gone into Mr. Luthor's company, and he understands how the transfer may affect the workers. Therefore, he has suggested that he's given the worth of the company currently, while not infringing on the workers' pay, the price being paid solely from Mr. Luthor's pocket. Lex tenses. That seems like an overestimate. No, well, I deeply apologize that Mr. Parker had to endure something like this, so surely this is too grand a sum. Peter leans over and whispers into Sam's ear as she nods. Very well. Lex seems to relax a bit at her words. Half the current worth would be acceptable. Half? He's nothing more than a boy. If he had just accepted my deal, then I'd had no need to resort to such extremes. Steve lets his head fall into his hands. Then I suppose we shall see you in court, Mr. Luthor. Sam stands. Peter follows after. Walking towards the door, Peter can hear whispered arguments. Wait! Sam stops but doesn't turn. There's a sigh before Steve continues.
How's 5%?
Sam turns with a slow smile. Checking his watch, Clark waits for Peter to come out of Lex's office. Jumping slightly at the sound of his phone going off, Clark quickly pulls it out. It's Bruce. Hello? How's it going? Sighing, Clark tells Bruce. He's talking now. Oh, he's interrupted by the door opening. Walking out, Clark watches as Peter gives him a smile and a small nod. Peter stops to thank Sam before making his way over to Clark. How'd it go? He can hear Bruce move closer to the phone to hear better. Got 5%! Blinking, Clark starts to think when he hears Bruce saying $50 million. I'm sorry? Peter nods with a smile. Yep, Sam was so awesome. They didn't want us to take it to court. Honestly, I didn't want to either. It takes too much time. Right. Clark starts to follow as Peter makes his way to the elevator. I'll have to call you back. After getting his things, Peter said his goodbyes and made his way to the bus stop. After a long ride, Peter had finally made it back to Gotham and back to his apartment. Flipping on the lights after unlocking the door, Peter calls out, "I'm home!" Pausing for a moment. When did this become home to me? He doesn't get to dwell on the thought for long when he hears a groan. Quietly settling his bags down, Peter moves further into his apartment. Raising his arms as he moves forward, Peter drops when he sees Duke and Tim laid out on the floor, Cat Jason laying on top of Tim, jumping up once he sees Peter. He rubs on Peter's leg before jumping onto his shoulder. "Hey," Peter says as he scratches behind the cat's ear. "What are you guys doing?" This seems to bring Duke and Tim back as they notice Peter. "Welcome back. How is Metropolis?" Duke asks, sitting up. "It was nice. Saw the sights, met some interesting people, got kidnapped, sued Lex Luthor, came back." Tim rolls onto his side, leaning forward. "What? Have you guys been here this whole time?" Tim nods. "Yeah, we wanted to finish the costumes so we'd have time to adjust them later. I'm sorry, did you say you got kidnapped?" Peter doesn't answer. "Are they all done?" "Yeah, stop changing the subject. What happened?" Peter sighs but explains. "So, you're a millionaire now?" Peter thinks for a second before shrugging. "I mean, I guess." "You guess? Dude," Duke asks, sitting up further, leaning closer. Tim just lays back down, mumbling a quiet, "Am I still dreaming?" "Wake up!" Duke shouts, smacking Tim on the head. "Can I see the costumes?" Duke sighs but gets up, motioning for Peter to follow. Waiting until Peter's out of the room, Tim pulls out his phone to send a text in the group chat. Replacement. 1. Peter is back. 2. He's a millionaire now. Scene 12:34 p.m. Dickie. He what? Little Wing. What? Hellspawn. Interesting. Steph. Hello? Cass. Question mark? Barbie. Elaborate? Putting his phone down, and Steph starts a separate tangent about how her and Cass don't have nicknames. Tim watches as Peter walks in wearing his costume. "Looks good." Peter smiles before putting on his helmet. "Thanks. Duke said you got the jacket for me. Thank you." His voice is muffled, but he's still audible. "No problem. It's not too big, is it?" Peter shakes his head, but Tim can see the jacket is a bit too big. He did steal Jason's actual Red Hood jacket, though, so that's to be expected. "Looks like we're all set for the party," Duke says, stepping in wearing his own costume. Shaking his head, Tim checks the time. "We gotta run, but it's good to have you back, Peter," Tim says while standing. Duke looks and nods as well. "We'll let you chill. See you Friday, though." Peter smiles and walks them to the door. "See you then." Once the door is closed, Peter lets out a sigh. Standing at the door, Peter looks around his apartment. There's no mess to be cleaned, no food to be made, and no one to distract him. Peter decides on a shower first and foremost. He'd do some schoolwork after. Moving to the bathroom, after grabbing a change of clothes, Peter turns the water on. Watching the mirror fog up, Peter starts to draw on it with his finger. A mustache and glasses, then a hat. Once those get covered, Peter draws what was supposed to be an astronaut helmet. Sucking in a breath, he sees Beck instead of himself for a moment. "Murder," Peter hears a distant voice say. "It's all your fault." "I'm not." "Murderer." Turning and stepping into the shower once undressed, Peter focuses on the routine instead of the voice, ignoring the green at the edge of his vision. The shower can only last so long. Stepping out, Peter dries off and gets dressed. Making his way to the kitchen and getting a drink before sitting on the couch. He doesn't sit for long, realizing he never got a laptop. Standing back up, Peter gets his phone. Dead. Right. Plugging the phone in, Peter looks over his room. Walking over, Peter opens the door before facing his closet. It's a bit early. Grabbing his suit, Peter stuffs it into his backpack before grabbing his wallet. He's got some time to kill. Landing on the nearest building, Jason checks his tracker before taking off to the right. There had been an increase in fear toxin being shipped. The only problem is that they had no idea where it was going. As Jason was making his way to the shipping docks, where the tracker was leading him, his attention was drawn to the other figure moving in. Jason knows it isn't any of his family. They'd make it known. Spider-Man. Watching as the mask lands on a building closer to the docks, Jason does the same.
Spider.
The mask in question turns and gives a little wave. Hood. Matching the squatting position, Jason asks the other man,
Why are you here?
Jason has worked with Spider-Man once or twice before, mostly in passing. Jason finding the spider stopping a mugging or helping an old lady cross the road. Following a lead, guy was trying to sell a suspicious green liquid. Didn't sit right with me. You? Jason turns to face the docks.
Same line of thought. That green liquid is called fear toxin. Once it's injected in the user, or rather victim, experiences their worst fears. Scarecrow's work.
He gets a hum in acknowledgement before the man rises. They're moving. And moving they were. They started to move the toxin into trucks. Jason turns to face Spider-Man, but sees the man already standing, arm out, before string flies from his wrist. Let's go! The man swings towards the trucks.
I really hope that didn't just come out of him.
Jason sighs but grapples after him. Landing on the truck with a soft thud, Peter looks over to see Red Hood do the same on the other truck. A brief nod is shared before they both drop down. Sorry to drop in unannounced, but I don't think this stuff's GDA approved. Whoa! He moves out of the way as a bullet flies at him. That's not very nice, he pouts before webbing a lackey. Peter can hear Red Hood firing off rubber, rounds, and distant groans. He's got it. Moving forward, Peter scales the building, webbing any goons he sees along the way. Looking through a window, Peter sees a surrounded Red Hood. Quietly opening the window, Peter loops around until he's over what seems to be the leader. Said man was monologuing, 'cause when do they not? It's going to take a lot more than one guy to stop us. Dropping down onto the guy, Peter comments, How about two? Not waiting for a response, Peter webs the leader down before flipping off him. Dodging the bullets that fly past him, Red Hood fires back from his new spot from behind some boxes. Webbing onto the ceiling, Peter crawls along it until he's over a large group of goons. Web grande, he whisper-sings as he drops the small disc. As it hits the ground, it launches a large web over the group. Firing a web to them before jumping down, Peter watches as they hang in the air.
Hey, Webhead, if you're done over here, you mind helping me?
Turning, Peter sees more goons filing out the back door. Oh, come on! How many are there? Swinging back into the fight, Peter hears a muffled voice.
Nightwing and Double R are almost there.
Reinforcements are almost there. Sidestepping a punch, Peter's quick to return his own. Hearing a loud crash, Peter looks up to the skylight. Or, what used to be the skylight. One of the goons takes advantage of his momentary distraction to get a hard hit in. The crowbar hit his head hard, causing Peter to stumble forward a bit. He groaned as he stumbled into a crate.
Spider!
He hears Red Hood shout, but Peter's hearing is a bit muffled. Peter hears the sound of electricity and a clanging noise as his vision stops spinning. I'm good, Peter says, noticing Hood's presence next to him. Hood puts a hand on his shoulder, guiding him to the ground.
Like hell you are. They got it for now. Let me take a look.
Peter pulls away at that. Hell no! Spider's reaction is concerning, but Jason needs to check his head.
You just got hit in the head with a crowbar. I need to check.
Spider shakes his head, but stops short to wince. I'm fine. I'll check it later. He's more stubborn than Dick. Sighing, Jason tries again.
You could have a concussion.
He can't see Spider's face, but Jason feels like he's deadpanning. Not the first time, won't be the last. To check my head, you'd have to take the mask off. Not happening. Spider-Man stands up and starts to rejoin the fight. Shaking his head, Jason follows after. With Dick and Tim, the rest go down easy. They both walk over to Jason, Spider-Man being a few steps away. Jason assumes it so he can make a run for it if needed. Friend of yours? Dick asks, nodding towards Spider-Man. Jason gives a hesitant nod before speaking.
You could say that. This is Spider-Man.
Dick nods and Spider turns a bit more to face them.
Webs, this is Nightwing and Red Robin.
Only when Jason says the name does he think of the cat in his apartment. Pushing the thought to the back of his mind, Jason waits for them to talk. Nice to meet you. Not to cut this introduction short, but how long until the GCPD shows up? As if to answer that question, the sound of sirens are heard getting closer. That answers that. See you around, Hood. He gives a 2-finger salute to Jason before firing a weapon, launching himself out of the building. So that's the new mask B was talking about. Seems nice, Dick says. Tim nods before speaking. But do you really think it's Peter? Jason has his doubts, but it kinda makes sense.
I don't know, but he was very defensive of his identity. It's better we don't push it. Let him come to us.
They nod, but Tim speaks up. Who's gonna tell B that? Jason and Dick groan. Landing on the roof of a building, Peter checks for cameras before tearing his mask off. Taking a deep breath, Peter feels the back of his head. Only a little blood. That's good. Deciding not to push his luck, Peter leans over the edge to grab his bag. But since when does he need to push his luck in order for it to push back? As soon as he has his bag in his hand, there's an alarm sounding in the distance. Sighing, Peter slips his mask back on, whipping his backpack back to the wall. It's gonna be a long night. Slipping his helmet on, Peter looks at his friends. The costumes turned out great, and after a day of healing, thanks to a steady supply of food, he's back to normal. Ready? Steph asks, standing by the door. Yep, just let me grab my phone. Checking his phone, Peter sees a text from Tara, having texted her a while ago to question her. Tara. Have fun. Peter doesn't respond, but he feels a chill go down his spine. He never said he was going out. Peter? Snapping out of it, Peter makes his way to the door. Let's go. He'd have fun tonight. He'd just have to remember to be careful. Stepping out of the car, Peter sees a large house. The Greek lettering in front tells him it's a frat house. Walking in, Peter sees a few people from his classes and some interesting costumes. Turning to comment on one, Peter realized that Steph and Cass are gone. Seeing his concern, Duke explains. Steph saw a friend and Cass followed. Peter nods before spotting a familiar face. Why do people dress up as villains? Following Peter's line of sight, Duke and Tim see Darius dressed as the Joker, his friends dressed as other villains such as the Penguin and Scarecrow. No clue. Duke shrugs, but Tim thinks for a second. Probably for the same reason we're dressed as vigilantes? That's different though. We're dressed as people who can help. They're dressed as people who torment others. It's quiet, but Peter can hear Tim mumble. Fitting then. But Duke elbows him. Sighing, Peter looks over to the kitchen table. I'm gonna grab a drink. Want anything? Tim says no as he pulls out an energy drink. From where, Peter doesn't know. But Duke asks for a soda. Nodding, Peter makes his way through the crowd. Pouring the drinks, Peter hears laughing coming from behind him before he's bumped, causing him to spill the soda.
Watch it.
Darius starts, but pauses for a second.
Who the hell is this?
You don't know Red Hood? I'm surprised. He hears Darius click his tongue.
I know who Red Hood is, and based on that comment, I take it it's Parker in there.
Pulling off the helmet, Peter gives a small nod.
Yep.
Darius smirks.
And who invited you?
I was told everyone was invited. Figured I'd stop by. He turns around for a second before continuing.
And you didn't bring that pixie with, did you?
What?
You know. Todd, he's... You know.
He makes a motion with his hand, and Peter just raises an eyebrow. I don't know. Darius scoffs as if remembering.
Right, you're the same as him.
He smirks.
So that means you're a pixie too. Pixie Parker. Ha!
He starts to laugh and his friends start doing the same, getting people's attention. Rolling his eyes, Peter grabs the drinks and turns to leave when he places a hand on his shoulder to stop him.
Hey, you still haven't apologized for spilling your drink on me.
He holds up a purple sleeve to show a small wet spot. You bumped into me, Peter tries, but Darius wasn't listening. Too busy ranting about
how this suit costs more than your life.
or something. Whatever. Peter turns to leave, but is stopped by Darius's friend standing in the way.
Not so fast, Parker. You still owe me for the jacket. Unless you want me to send the bill to your whore.
He sneers. Excuse me? Peter asks, green flooding into his vision. Darius pushes Peter in the chest before continuing.
You heard me. How do you think he became a Wayne? Todd's nothing more than a whore.
He doesn't get to finish the sentence as Peter drops the plastic cups in favor of punching him in the face.
Shut up. You can say whatever you want about me, but don't you dare bring my friends into it.
Peter huffs as he stands over Darius, being knocked on his ass.
My nose! You broke my nose, you damn psycho!
Over some... Not having learned his lesson, Peter punches Darius again, now sitting over him and raising his fist back when he feels a hand on his shoulder. One of Darius's friends, dressed as Penguin, pulls his fist back and punches Peter. Standing as he's pulled up by the other friend, now dubbed Scarecrow, Peter's punched again in the stomach. At this point, they've gained quite the crowd. Peter can distinctly hear his name being shouted at the back of the crowd. Ducking the next punch Penguin throws at him, Peter throws his own, landing a hit to the man's chest, knocking him back a bit, tripping on his still-down friend. Swinging his foot around, Peter catches Scarecrow's ankle, bringing him down. Pulling him up to meet Peter's squat, Peter punches him once more. Pulling back his fist again, someone grabs his wrist. Turning his head slightly, Peter sees Darius freeze, his own arm pulled back. Unbeknownst to Peter, his eye is glowing a dim neon green. His face is turned just enough to show the small trail of blood coming from his nose. Before anything else can happen, there's the sound of a siren going off, an officer walking through the crowd, stopping in the center. You boys are coming with me. Sitting on the chair next to the officer's desk, Peter sees Darius holding an ice pack to his nose while glaring at him. Hearing the door slam, Peter spots a freaked out Jason rushing in, stopping when he sees Peter. Tim called me and said you got arrested. Peter winced but smiles. Yeah, sorry. Jason shakes his head but takes a second. Soon after Jason walked in, Tim, Duke, Steph, and Cass walked in. Jason rubs his eyes for a moment when he seems to take notice of what Peter's wearing. Are you dressed as Red Hood? Blinking, Peter nods. Yeah, we did a group costume. As if to prove his point, Tim and Co. stand next to Peter, showing off their costumes. Huh. The officer walks in, pausing slightly at the new people. Well, Mr. Parker, he said he wants to press charges, but his parents paid it for you. Not sure why, but you're free to go. Let's not make this a habit. He raised his eyebrow, but walks off. Huh, that's odd. Duke nods at Peter's words. For sure, but let's not look a gift horse in the mouth, Tim says, getting a comment from Steph. What does that even mean? She asks while walking outside. Who knows? Duke answers, following after her, the rest doing the same. Shall we? Peter asks Jason, who's still standing there, snapping him out of whatever trance he was in. Yeah. He smiles and Peter turns to face the door. Is that my jacket? Jason thinks, walking behind Peter. For author's notes, we've got that the GCPD is Gotham City Police Department and GDA is Gotham Drug Association. This took way less time than chapter 7. No, I don't think I really have anything to say as an outro. So we're just gonna get right into the blooper reel. Yeah, why do I always end up with the longer chapters? It's like, yeah, chapter 23, I scroll down to start reading chapter notes. Longer chapter, yay! Good God. Oh, I go back to work soon. I don't want to do that. Hi, welcome back. My PNG tuber is not fucking working. Why is it not working? Excuse me. Hello? Why is no function? Why function no is doing? No, I do not want to open up Microsoft Edge. Screw off. I think I remembered I gave Peter my customer service voice, and now I need to figure out a voice for Lex. Okay. Sam nods along as she opens her laptop, turning it to the screen. Okay. Turning it so that the screen shows 2 of the tape. Okay. Sam nods along as she opens her laptop, turning it to the screen. Okay. Do I need to get my eyes checked? What the fuck? Water break. It was closer to 20, and there were several mental breakdowns along the way. Job. Oh boy, did we get sales like you would not believe. Forget door-to-door, forget outside of Walmart's. That, outside of a truck stop in the freezing cold of winter in the middle of absolute nowhere, best spot to sell cookies. Ooh, altitude sickness plus heat stroke equals yikes-arundo, guys. Anyway, where the fuck did I leave off reading? Checking his watch, Clark wakes. Ugh. He can hear move. Ugh. He can hear move. Words. Thought for long, not the thought for long. Hey. Do I have to steal one of my cats? The walls are paper thin and the family is home. I cannot just start shouting at the microphone. That doesn't rhyme. It feels like I should come up with something like that rhymes. Something that a line that ends with something that rhymes with thin. Not me, like, half mumbling haikus and, like, no, I should not. Okay, so now we get to do the fun thing where I get to mutter distant nothing evilness in the background, and we're recording this now because I won't record it while I'm editing later, and I don't feel like spending hours trying to get creepy distant whispers sound effect. So I'm rewatching the opening scene for No Way Home just to see the shit that they said about Peter. I forgot that directly after Bay and Happy broke up, they walked in on Peter and FJ. I'm trying to brainstorm things that I could whisper evilly into the microphone without sounding like a complete dumbass. It's going to be running in the background. It's not going to be this. This was a lot of effort for something that's probably going to last for a solid maybe 2 seconds. Building. Yep. Laying it on the nearest building, rootin' tootin' shootin'. Why is there a Toy Story 5? I thought that 4 was stretching it. This is a surprise tool that we'll use later. Okay. When the foreshadowing gets hit on, when you end up with a concussion because of how hard the foreshadowing was beat over your head, you can come back and talk to me about me sounding traumatized.
The problem is what I have is that I can hear myself. It causes the problem of I can hear myself, but also at a slight delay. So it fucks up how I speak.
Oh, right. I just want a freaking basic ass voice modulator, guys. I don't need to be Batman. I don't need to be Batman.
Jazz break.
Huh. No. The hearing my the monitoring my own voice option, it's getting me. I know I had this on a frickin' keybind. I forgot what the fucking keybind was though. Jason has worked with this I keep picking the wrong tab. Okay, web. It says web too many times in this freaking paragraph. Wrong tab again.
Fuck. Where the hell?
Water break. What time has it been? It's been an hour and a half. Holy mackerel carumbas. Yeah, the audible trauma. Multiple days of editing. You could hear the 1,000-yard stares. Once again, foreshadowing, hitting you over the head with a brick. Yeah! The foreshadowing is pulling a Stephanie Brown and will wall up that brick at your face! We love Stephanie in this house. We love Girl Robin in this house. We love Batgirl number 3. We love spoiler. This house appreciates Stephanie Brown. You don't know who Stephanie Brown is. You just know that we respect her in this house. Fitting then. You can't see it, but like, you know the things that like parents do when they like bob their heads up and down? I do that sometimes while I'm recording and confused. It's a very funny sight considering I'm sitting here in my freaking pineapple PJs bobbing my head and going Did I have a Darius voice yet? No, this is the first time I get to record Darius. Hell yeah. We hate Darius in this house. He's just a shittier Flash Thompson. We loathe Darius in this house. Yes, the explanation is fuck him. Darius, actually, no. Nothing that brings him joy. He not even that.
I know who Red Hood is. And based on that, I take it's Parker in there. You can hear the cat. Also, it's that Pixie. It's the Pixie Parker comment that really got me to go like, this is literally just dollar store Flash Thompson. This is great value Flash Thompson. He calls him Pixie Parker. Not even something like Penis Parker. It's Pixie Parker. Wow, sir. Wow, Darius. How fucking original. Like, at least Penis Parker has bathroom humor behind it. Pixie Parker's just a fucking... Pixie Parker's just calling him gay. Which he is. It's like walking up to somebody and just going like, hello, blue-eyed Susie. And Susie's like, yes, I do indeed have blue eyes. What the fuck? But blue-eyed Susie, how have you been? Aren't you ashamed? You have blue eyes. Isn't that so funny? But Darius, you also have blue eyes. To be fair, he is a dick. Therefore, he sounds like a dick. He sounds like he's even more of a dick than Dick. Peter's just a guy. He's just a silly little guy. I really hope that the walls aren't as thin as I remember them being, and I hope my little brother isn't in his room because he could hear me through the vent. Oh god, this sentence. I need to, like, physically, like, prepare myself to read this sentence. Makes me feel so icky. Like, I know I'm reading a character. I know I'm not doing anything this character is. But I feel so icky. I feel so icky reading Darius's lines. There's a reason why we hate Darius in this house. This line is why we hate Darius. Like, up until this point, he was just kind of a hateable guy. But now he's like, this next sentence is what cements him on my shit list for the rest of eternity. Okay, that's over now. Binary gender is a scam by bathroom companies to sell more bathrooms. I'm still trying to get my parents to have a crush on each other.
They're just really uber friend zoned with each other right now, and it's like, guys, y'all are married in real life, please. I think right now, the only thing happening in that age bracket in terms of romance is that Tony Stark has a raging crush on my mom. Deku and the Red Hood were duking it out on my lawn in broad daylight. They were throwing shit at each other. True thing actually happened. I have pictures of that. Jason's like, I'm gonna confess my feelings. Where should I do it? I'm like, do it romantically on a Ferris wheel. And I'm like, so the two are up on the Ferris wheel. They're the only two people in this Ferris wheel as far as I can tell, according to the camera frame. So Jason very, very romantically proclaims his love for Peter on this Ferris wheel. And then suddenly, the camera turns, and there's Tim. And then when they get out of the Ferris wheel and they have their little comments afterward, Tim reveals that he didn't actually think he had feelings for Peter until he saw Jason confessing first. And I'm like, Tim, you can't just do that. Tim, you can't just do that. His eye is glowing a dim green. Ugh. Hearing a door slam, Peter spots a freaked out Jason. Bleh. I had another thing to say. And gift horse in the mouth. Gift horse in the mouth. I do actually know what gift horse in the mouth means. It's